The role of the assistant coaching staff is a crucial element that has largely been overlooked in the wider discussions about team accountability. When video evidence repeatedly shows a head coach handling the team's star player aggressively on the sidelines, the assistant coaches under that leadership find themselves in a distinct institutional position. The recorded moments of Breon January putting her hands on Caitlin Clark, combined with previous footage of intense sideline arguments, prove that these issues extend beyond the head coach. They point to an underlying culture within the coaching staff that has been allowed to grow without any public intervention from upper management. This problematic environment is a direct reflection of front office management, not just the head coach. This issue of front office accountability, resting with Lynn Dunn, Kelly Krauskopf, and the ownership tier, has become critical due to the events recorded this season. Decisions regarding the head coach, the atmosphere created by the assistants, media policy infractions, strategic direction, and how young talent is nurtured all stem from management. Every single one of these factors is a direct result of the personnel choices and administrative oversight established by executives and owners. The coaching staff simply mirrors the overarching philosophy of the franchise. That broader corporate culture remains the sole responsibility of the executives who selected this staff and chose to keep them employed despite a mounting record of issues all year.
She's done with Stephanie White. Look at this here. This is a player that is mentally done. Stephanie White, congratulations. You have mentally defeated Caitlin Clark. She's done. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. As always, this thing is over. I'm letting it be known once again. I'm rooting for Caitlin Clark 100%.
Footage of Clark sitting on the bench with her head down is not presented here to guess at her mental state. Trying to read body language is an imperfect science, and credible commentary avoids using a brief visual moment to declare exactly what an athlete is feeling inside. However, what this video does clearly confirm, without any exaggeration, is a stark shift away from the energetic, engaged, competitive posture that Clark displayed during the early part of the schedule. The difference between her positive demeanor when the franchise was building momentum and her current body language is unmistakable and shows a clear trend. It indicates a real issue, though the exact nature of that trouble is for Clark to explain herself if she ever decides to do so. What cannot be denied is that the visual contrast exists in the official record.
This whole debacle with Stephanie White crashing out on her and benching her. Take a look at this interaction between Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. They're whispering things to each other. This is after the crash out. This is after all of that. You see it. Caitlin Clark's like, yo, we gotta get this idiot the hell out of here. We gotta get this idiot out of here. Aaliyah, I will not be signing my epic deal.
The hushed conversation on the bench between Clark and Aaliyah Boston, where they shielded their mouths from the television cameras right after the sideline incident, was caught on film but cannot be decoded word for word. Professional analysis avoids fabricating private dialogue between teammates. What the camera does confirm is that two of the organization's foundational pillars intentionally sought a private moment to connect during a time of intense competitive and emotional pressure. The mere fact that this interaction occurred at that exact moment serves as a significant behavioral cue. The actual words spoken belong strictly to the players involved. Conversely, the tactical data from the matchup is completely public and ripe for deep evaluation. This is where specific reporting from Jason Whitlock sheds new light on the player rotation strategy in a way that demands a closer look.
Stephanie White rotated her players like they were playing 3 games in 4 nights. It was actually Portland playing its 3rd game in 4 nights. Stephanie White played 11 players in the first quarter. Wrong coach. Fire that bozo. Fire that bozo. There is no reason to play 11 different players in 1 quarter. This lady wants to be the smartest person in the room. That's the dangerous person to me. I never want to, I don't feel like I'm the smartest person in the room. I damn sure.
Whitlock brought to light a critical fact that standard box score summaries completely missed. The Portland Fire were taking the court for their 3rd matchup in just 4 nights, whereas Indiana was completely rested. This gap in physical fatigue between the two squads heading into Saturday was substantial and highly relevant. The Portland players were dealing with a heavy physical workload that sports medicine experts recognize as a major factor in draining performance, especially during the second half when energy tanks empty out. Given these exact circumstances, Stephanie White's decision to cycle 11 different players onto the court in just the opening quarter must be judged differently than if both teams were equally rested. When your opponent is exhausted from a brutal scheduling stretch and your squad is fresh, the proper strategy is to press that physical advantage by keeping your best lineups on the floor for longer stretches. This forces exhausted defenders to chase a stable offensive system and drains the opponent's remaining strength through pressure rather than constant line changes. Using 11 players in the first quarter achieves the exact opposite result. It hands a tired opponent an ever-changing mix of lineups and defensive schemes to read, which actually reduces the mental and physical strain on those weary players because your own offense never establishes the rhythm needed to exploit their exhaustion. This backward strategy, shuffling players constantly instead of keeping the pressure on with your top lineup, is the underlying coaching flaw that Whitlock's reporting exposes. Removing Clark and Boston at the 6:30 mark did more than just halt the team's momentum. It was a clear example of a flawed substitution philosophy that ran completely counter to the opponent's physical vulnerability on Saturday. The data compiled by Chloe Peterson shows the exact, damaging results of that strategy.
On why Aaliyah, Boston, and Caitlin Clark subbed at 6:30 mark of the first, after which Portland went on a 13-2 run. Caitlin Clark had 2 points, 3 assists, and a rebound in the first 2.5 minutes of this game and then was subbed out. They were up 8-4. The Portland Fire then went on a 13-2 run. Caitlin Clark got back in the game. It was 17-10. And the game turned into an absolute free fall from there. From the second Caitlin Clark got subbed out, this game...
The timeline of events is indisputable. The Fever jumped out to an 8-2 advantage, with Clark racking up 2 points, 3 assists, and a rebound in the opening 2.5 minutes, forcing a desperate Portland team to call a timeout. Immediately following that timeout, at the 6:30 mark, Clark and Boston were subbed out together. Portland then went on a dominant 13-2 run. By the time Clark was put back into the game, Indiana trailed 17-10. An 11-point negative turnaround was caused entirely by the coaching staff's substitution choices against an opponent playing its third game in 4 nights, a team that should have been completely outmatched energy-wise. White's post-game defense of the move as just a standard rotation wrapper, which was already tactically weak on its own, looks even worse when you factor in the fatigue data Whitlock uncovered. While aggressive bench usage is sometimes defended as a way to manage player workloads over a long calendar, applying that logic against a heavily fatigued opponent completely throws away a massive competitive edge. You do not pace your own roster when the schedule has already drained the opposing team for you. You attack.
In sports, which was the Caitlin Clark show. Clark show, baby! They ruined it. Indiana Fever were becoming America's team. Must-see television. No question about it. They have ruined it. It's over, guys. Take a look at this. These 3 have completely destroyed the most exciting basketball team we've ever seen. That's Amber Cox, Kelly Krauskopf, and Stephanie White. They have ruined this thing. It's over.
The operational pattern established over the course of this season, the angry clipboard moments, the physical altercations on the sideline involving both White and Breon January, the media policy violations, the conflicting statements to reporters, and the substitution patterns that have repeatedly backfired on the scoreboard, has reached a tipping point where every new game merely adds to an existing mountain of evidence. The direction this franchise is heading is unmistakable. It is well documented, clearly trending downward, and hurting the team's performance on the court. The role of the assistant coaching staff is a crucial element that has largely been overlooked in the wider discussions about team accountability. When video evidence repeatedly shows a head coach handling the team's star player aggressively on the sidelines, the assistant coaches under that leadership find themselves in a distinct institutional position. The recorded moments of January putting her hands on Clark, combined with previous footage of intense sideline arguments, prove that these issues extend beyond the head coach. They point to an underlying culture within the coaching staff that has been allowed to grow without any public intervention from upper management. This problematic environment is a direct reflection of front office management, not just the head coach. This issue of front office accountability, resting with Dunn, Krauskopf, and the ownership tier, has become critical due to the events recorded this season. Decisions regarding the head coach, the atmosphere created by the assistants, media policy infractions, strategic direction, and how young talent is nurtured all stem from management. Every single one of these factors is a direct result of the personnel choices and administrative oversight established by executives and owners. The coaching staff simply mirrors the overarching philosophy of the franchise. That broader corporate culture remains the sole responsibility of the executives who selected this staff and chose to keep them employed despite a mounting record of issues all year.
Clark should be looking to move on. I think Caitlin Clark deserves better. Aaron Kaine, do your damn job. Where the fuck are you at? Where are you? Where are you? Are you going to do something, or are you going to sit here and act like you don't see this crap that's going on? Do you not see what's going on right now? Look at what they have done to the biggest star in the sport. We watch every other team. We watch the Dallas Wings lean into Paige Beckers and prop her up. We watch all these other teams lean into their stars and
Clark's agent, Aaron Kaine, now holds a massive amount of leverage backed by a mountain of documented team dysfunction. The power dynamics surrounding Clark's future with the team have been obvious ever since her hesitant stance on a contract extension became public. She has refused to commit long-term, while the franchise continues to provide the exact type of negative footage this channel covers. These two realities are deeply connected, and managing this dynamic is exactly what top-tier sports agents are trained to do. Looking at how other organizations treat their generational young stars, such as Dallas building around Paige Beckers, provides a valuable blueprint for proper management rather than just an emotional comparison. Organizations that build winning, long-term environments for young icons make deliberate, smart choices. They design systems tailored to their stars' strengths, maintain communication that fosters trust, and publicly praise the player rather than taking credit away from them. Those positive decisions create a healthy bond between the athlete and the franchise. The documented reality of the Indiana Fever's 2026 season shows the exact opposite. Thursday's game against the Atlanta Dream will be the next major test. How management responds to this cumulative crisis, whether they act before Thursday, during the game, or afterward, will be the defining storyline of the season, regardless of who wins or loses. There is more than enough evidence to make a judgment. The owners have all the information they need. The only remaining question is if and when they will choose to step in. This is NBA Pro. Subscribe today and turn on alerts to get full updates on management's next moves and our coverage of the Atlanta matchup. Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Does Whitlock's data on Portland's exhaustion make White's 11-player rotation and the early benching of Clark and Boston look even more reckless than the film already suggests? And does ownership's decision to keep this coaching staff in place after Saturday's meltdown tell us everything we need to know about Clark's contract extension timeline? Every perspective in the comments helps drive the debate. We will see you as soon as the front office makes its move.